And good morning, everyone, and welcome to Small Biz Matters, the half-hour program where you work on your business rather than in it. I am very excited to announce that we have a guest fest these coming couple of months. We've got lots of great businesses coming with us and sharing their expertise across a multitude of experiences and wealth of knowledge that is here to help my listeners. Now, I hope you all had a really great break, because I know I did. We went camping with the family, and that was great because I actually stopped. It's one of those things that we're pretty bad at as businesses, which is actually just relaxing and stopping and not checking emails and not even, heaven forbid, having any internet access, which is exactly what is required of me to make me stop. I have to completely turn off all electronic devices. And I'm sure that's the same for a lot of you. So I hope that some of you at least had a few days break, did manage to relax with the family and spend some time with the family, because that's why we have small businesses. Sure. And that's why we relax, because we want to be able to spend more time with our families. The reality is we don't. The reality is we spend more time with our business than we do with our family. But that's the theory anyway. So I'm very glad to be joined in the studio today by Maria Joyan, who is from Send Out Cards, which is, I asked her to come on the show actually because I asked her to come on the show because I received one of her cards after we met at a networking event, and I thought this is a fabulous thing to chat about, because it's a way to connect with people. And that's what we're going to be talking about today: sales, marketing, and different ways of connecting with your clients. So welcome to the show, Maria.
Thank you so much, Alexi, for having me. It's great being on the show.
It's going to be really interesting, actually, because we were even just chatting before we came on a little bit about just ways that you connect with people, ways that you establish a relationship as a business, because it's not just about sell, is it?
Sure, for sure. No, it's in today's day and age, and in the way that the businesses are going, we definitely need to differentiate ourselves from the competitor, as well as the way that we are marketing ourselves. To begin as to how we can differentiate would be good to also talk about as to what actually makes a business successful.
Yeah,
so
good question.
A successful business would be a business that will have lots and lots of customers, and those customers are actually loyal customers, that they stay around with that business for a long time to come. And those businesses that keep those customers the longest are actually the winners. So
so it's not just about revenue, is it?
No.
I love what you used there. I love that term, and I don't think it's used enough, even though it is very important in the small business world. Loyalty,
exactly. So the customers stay and stick around no matter what with you, and also this brings us to the question as to why we lose customers, and why is it that some customers just prefer the competitor and they just run away from us, and that sort of leaves our businesses to struggle from time to time.
And it can be a psychological struggle as well.
Exactly.
It can really tear you apart when you lose one of those customers, and sometimes you don't even know why.
For sure, yeah, for sure. In today's marketing, that the way that we are, as you mentioned earlier, it is mostly about sell. We have forgotten to actually keep in touch with customers at that personal and emotional base. And this is the very, the reason that why some customers leave is not because of the product or not because of the price that they are paying. It's actually the perceived indifference that they think that the business does not care about them anymore.
Yes.
And statistics actually show that 68% of the customers leave due to lack of appreciation.
Right.
Where we sort of treat them as a number, they come and go. We don't even know them that well. They pay their price, we provide them the service with the product and whatever, and they just leave, and just like a number.
Yeah, a dollar value.
A dollar value, exactly. I have an example, a scenario to put in here. For example, we say Linda is an office manager, and she goes and purchases her stationery from this corner store all the time. And this goes on maybe for a couple of years, and just a transactional based kind of a relationship where she goes and purchases whatever is needed and then goes. Down the track, an office works opens up. And of course, because she's been purchasing from that particular corner store all these years, she notices that bigger store. So she just goes and purchases, and without even giving any thoughts about the corner store that she's been purchasing from. Say that Linda was given a personal approach, or was appreciated by that corner store. I don't think that Linda would consider going to the big store, which is the Officeworks. So as a result, it's not the customer's fault.
No,
it is actually the businesses that they have dealt with their customers at a transactional base and not appreciating, not taking the time to build a relationship. And to let them know that, we appreciate your business. So instead of, purchasing from the corner store, she just goes there. And not only she purchases from there, she also talks about it with her colleagues as well as, family, friends and all that. So what happens as a result is that particular corner store is suffering. And not only has lost one customer, maybe 10 customers. And for a small business, that means a lot.
Yeah, it can be devastating.
Exactly.
So it's about that connectivity. I like what you said in that example, because there's the connectivity that you don't want it to just be a transactional relationship. It needs to be personal, and that doesn't mean you live in your client's pockets. That doesn't mean that you know their children's names, what school they go to, or make it too personal. I think women, we do that very well, don't we? We get to know each other on a personal level. Obviously, men struggle with that. But interestingly, men are good at networking, but women still struggle with... Well, actually, I shouldn't say that. Women are very good at networking, but men are better at putting themselves out there. So they're good at talking about themselves. Women are good at talking about other people. I generalise horribly.
Exactly. So that's where, we need to make a difference. That, when we are dealing with customers, customers talk about us. So we are just natural networkers, and we talk about businesses, we talk about the experiences that we have had, we talk about the relationship that we have. So a small business owner, or any business owner, should be very much conscious of that. And and also let me just give another example. By saying thank you, we as children have been brought up to say thank you when someone does something, give you something, or somebody being nice to you. And this just shows that how important, or how far a simple thank you can go for a business in
and
our
it can
adult
be
life.
simple, and exactly that, it can be simple. And let's talk about the different ways. I mean, if we talk about the fundamentals of sales and marketing, it's about brand reminders. It's about making sure that you're top of mind when someone thinks about your particular business and what you do. It's about positioning yourself as the expert. It's about networking and making that connection with other people. So that, fundamentally, that is sales and marketing. And fundamentally, that's what, in a way, the business that you work for, which is Send Out Cards, does in a nutshell. But I think it's a different way of doing it, and that's what I found really interesting. So, can you just take me back a little bit, because I always find people's journeys to where they are now very, very interesting. What's your small business journey? What is it that led you to work here and make you want to connect with people in that way? What really intrigued you about this company? Sure.
In a world that, there's a no-touch world at the moment, and, completely, like you said, we did disconnect ourselves at a personal touch. So relationships of all kinds are suffering. This particular business that I am in, and the reason why I joined with Send Out Cards, was because it actually touches the heart. It actually touches people at a personal and emotional level, where, you stay at the front of the customer's mind, where you actually say thank you, and you actually utter it and say, and physically send them a card by saying, I appreciate you and I appreciate your business. Where every other form of marketing, in my opinion, has been saturated. It's too crowded.
This is true.
We pay so much money for all these other forms of marketing, flyers, Facebook, digital marketing, we send emails and after emails, and what happens to all that? We are not getting really much result. But when we sort of, take a step back and appreciate and send those beautifully designed, personalized, and customized with your own branding on the back, not only it touches people's mind and heart and makes them feel special and appreciated, you are also in a subtle way branding your own business. On the back of that, which sets it apart from all these other forms of traditional marketing that we've been going on about. So I guess what this particular company does is by taking the brick and mortar top environment by click and order, where you just press send and it just sends mass number of cards that physical cards, because a lot of people think that it's e-card or marketing, but it is actually physical card that it gets printed, stuffed, stamped and mailed anywhere in the world.
We're going to come to that a little bit later, actually, about the whole working with something overseas and delivery and how that can make people's heads explode a little bit. But it's interesting what you were mentioning just before about the physicality of it. Just as we were sitting outside in the office, I raced off to get my little brochure and hand it over. It's very exciting having something tangible and printed. It makes you feel a bit important, really, as a small business. But it's lovely to have something that you hand over, and in a way, doing something physical like that, handing something over physical. Yes, it's a brand reminder. Yes, it hangs around a bit more and sits on somebody's desk and they look at your picture and there's all that element to it. But I think there's a certain amount of satisfaction as a business owner to have something tangible. It's why we still have business cards, isn't it?
Exactly.
It's why some crazy people still put their faces on mugs. I got a mug from someone once. I went, really? We're having our very first meeting and I barely know you, but now I've got a mug with your face on it. Thanks. That's going straight to Vinny's. But I think it's great to have. It makes you feel a little bit grown up.
Yes.
I think.
Yes.
As a small business. So to know that there's something behind you.
Yes.
That's bigger than you. That's bigger than your digital presence.
Exactly. Not only that, if I might just add to that the wonderful point that you've just mentioned, when we are sending and giving for the sake of giving, we actually are not talking about sales, right?
Yes.
We are actually giving for the sake of giving.
Yes.
And that's where the difference is made. That's where, our clients or the customers really feel the sincerity and, knowing that genuinely, we as business owners or we as small business owners are appreciating them. And taken
the time.
Exactly.
Granted, we know that in these sort of systems, in these online systems, it's a very efficient way of doing things. Yep. It's a couple of clicks, but you did think and you did put that person above everybody else and say, I'm going to do this for them.
Exactly. And also as a business owner, because you're sending all these cards and touching people's heart and mind and staying at the front of your client's mind and all that, you're just sending it through without even expecting anything. All of a sudden, you just have this positive effect, this increase in your sales, and you're saying, "Wow, what happened?" So without even saying me. Promotion, you're just getting the success that you always wanted.
That's right. And I think it takes a certain type of person to set up a business. Obviously, you've got to have the tenacity, you've got to have the drive, you've got to have the idea or the widget that you're selling, and you've got to be able to know that you can sell yourself. Yes. But it's another type of person that uses these forms of marketing very successfully. Sure. And we're going to talk a little bit more about this after the break in terms of that you mentioned before about it being a flooded market, and there's just so many touch points we've got to have as businesses. It's exhausting when it comes to advertising. Yes. But I think it takes a certain type of person to want to connect with people in this way. So this sort of tactic, this sales and marketing thing may not be for everyone. It might not be for everyone that. But is it for every customer? I guess what you have to ask yourself. It might not be for every customer when you're sending these out. You think, oh, that person's not really going to get it or appreciate it. But maybe they will.
It's really like, not so much that like, instantly you're sending card. You can send the cards. For example, we have details of all the customers, the addresses, or like, physical addresses, that is. And
that's another thing. When people are looking for a system like this, they should be looking for something that also helps control
exactly
CRM.
The CRM. Yeah. So we do have a customer database, and with this particular system, those contacts with database or the customer base that you have, you can actually group them. You can actually
and that's what people should be looking for, right?
Exactly. So which customer would need this, or which customer would need that, and this is all built into the system. That you can group them. You can choose which customer will appreciate. I'm coming back to what you were saying. Maybe some customers do not want to receive these cards, although it's just shown that no matter who receives these cards, because it's physical and because it stays at the front of their mind, they all appreciate it and they all talk about it.
That's right. It's that physicality of it that I think that makes it a very different way of marketing yourself. You're listening to Triple H 100.1 FM. We're going to take a quick short break for some community service announcements, and then we'll be back with Ameria talking all about different ways of marketing your business, thinking a bit left field, a little bit out of the box with sales and marketing. You're listening to Triple H 100.1 FM. So today we're talking all about sales and marketing for your business, which is, look, it does occupy a lot of our mind as small businesses. There's, you've got to be across so many different channels. You've got to be touch points. There's so many different things. And just when you think you've got a control of it, just when you think you've got an Instagram, a Twitter, a Facebook, a website, email, MailChimp, when you've got it all under control, somebody goes, oh, and what about this? But I did have that moment of what about this when I met you with you a few weeks ago, because I thought that the business that you work for, which is Send Out Cards, it's a really good opportunity to connect with people in a different way. And it's about the physicality, which we were talking about a little bit before the break. And I know it's painful. I know you've got to be across so many different things. But how do you... what's a good way of sort of researching this? What should you be looking for if you're trying to find a touch point that is more physical with your clients? So say you're a small business and you're saying, okay, I want to do something a bit more personal. Mm-hmm. And you might have heard about something like this. But what are you researching for? What are you looking for in a company? What should they be providing you?
From the small business point of view, because we are using every other form of marketing and it's just not working. So the best way, for example...
Not only is it not working, I'm sorry to interrupt you, only is it not working, but you don't feel like it's working.
Exactly.
You don't get that instant, for want of a better word, gratification.
Exactly.
But you don't have that instant connection with that person. Exactly. You just got this... Oh, I'm just going to send out 1 million emails and hope that a couple of people glance at them for 2 or 3 seconds, and then I'll get some statistics that say that they scrolled through the first half. Where did they stop? I mean, really, it's almost extra work.
Exactly.
As opposed to what we think is extra work, which is a physical thing, which really isn't.
No, it is quite enjoyable actually, because for example, you're bringing new clients or you're getting new clients and customers by just simply having a campaign set, or a group of clients set that by sending a thank you for choosing our company or our services and using that not only makes you feel better and makes you connected with your customer for many years to come. When they receive that, they feel special at the same time. And so we all need to have a strong and long-lasting relationship and the connection with our customers. And if you look around, the competition is at its peak. So what we need to do is to basically make our relationship and our connection with our customers different. And the best way, or the most effective way would be to connect with them at a personal level and appreciate them. Say literally, we appreciate your business, thanking them, celebrating the new possibilities. For example, you're bringing a new product or a new service. You can actually, send a card and maybe mention that and say that we are looking forward for the new possibilities of doing business with you.
You could also congratulate them
Exactly.
on a new success, such as them moving premises, or they're expanding, or they're taking on staff.
Exactly. Well, this is where it becomes personal, where you can celebrate their achievements or their what they are doing, and that's where the connection happens, and that's where people will actually trust you and refer others to you, and not only being a customer for you, but they will bring the whole group of other people that they know.
Here's an interesting concept for people who are thinking that this is not for them, but digital marketing is. How many times out there, I want everyone who's listening to ask themselves, how many times have you had one of your email newsletters forwarded and then you actually received a client from that? And the answer is going to be never, because never will you have sent out an email blast or a newsletter, have anybody do anything more than glance at it. They might click through, they might find an article, they might even share the article if you're really, really lucky with you as the expert. But they're never going to forward this to someone else and go, hey, I just got this fabulous newsletter.
Exactly.
From this person, because they're so kind, they sent it to me and a million other people. So I feel really special. So I guess with something tangible, with something physical, you're making that connection, and it's that connection that's going to be spoken about. Not forget about what you're selling. Forget about your widget, who you are, your consultation, your expertise.
Exactly.
You're selling yourself and your personal brand.
Exactly. In a very, very subtle way. Without, there is a say that appreciation wins over self-promotion. So by that particular physicality of the card, and appreciating your clients, and keeping in touch and building that relationship and celebrating with them their achievements and all that, you're actually appreciating not promoting your business, but in a natural way that will come to you anyway.
And not necessarily from that person either, because you've made that personal connection.
Exactly.
They're not going to go, their mind is not saying, I know this person because they sell this widget.
Yes.
I know this person because they seem to be trustworthy, genuine, which is not something you can convey over an email MailChimp newsletter. There's no genuineness there because somebody's probably written it for you.
Yes.
Whereas this sort of thing, it is more of a genuine, trustworthy, and it's about building trust. So many times we learn. And that's why networking groups are so successful. I mean, we met at HBBN. It's a great little home-based business network networking group. Great way for people to get out of their office and into spaces. Another connectivity. It's personal.
It is. That's what we're missing in today's day and age. The personal connection, and because everything has become digital. It also brings me to the point that a global marketing strategist in the name of David Fagan, he's describing today's market as a room with lots of noisy people trying to scream on top of each other's voice in order to be heard by the customers. And the way that he's describing the market that we can be heard is by leaning over and whispering. And he's not talking about send-out cards or anything, but this is the exact way that we can be heard without saying me, or buy from me.
Break through the noise with quietness,
exactly, and whisper.
I don't do whisper and quietness. I have to take your word for it. but it's true, isn't it? It's just cracking through that flooded, crowded room. How do you can't become the noisiest by being the noisiest?
Exactly. So this, there is a system that will actually do that whispering for you, without you actually whispering.
We need an app. Yeah, I need an app that turns my shouty voice into a nice, quiet voice.
Definitely. And that app is available as well.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, no. There's an app for that. There's an app for everything.
There's an app, yeah.
But I think it's really interesting that, I have to say that when I met you, it's something about your personality and that fit, that natural fit with that personal connection and that type of sales and marketing. So what is it that led you to this? Because my understanding, you had a corporate background, didn't you?
Yes.
In a large corporate.
Yes, I was working in that 9 to 5 kind of a job for many years, and of course as we become mothers or we become busy in our lives, that 9 to 5 job is for other people, but it certainly wasn't for me. So I looked at a few businesses that really wasn't connecting with me. And
when you said you looked at businesses, did you literally shop around saying, I'm trying to find and this is me just putting words in your mouth now, but I'm trying to find something that's going to play to my strengths, which is that personal connection, that softness, the kindness, and something to give back to the business community.
Exactly.
I'm just reading you now like a psychologist. Yeah. But you were looking for something, but how what did you Google or did you talk to people?
Yeah, well, that's exactly what my inner feeling was, that I need to give out to the community. I need to connect with people. I need to appreciate. And to be honest, I have that nature of giving. And when I do give, I feel good. It doesn't matter. I would not expect it back from them, but that makes me happy. That's me. So that nature of giving, I think, has sort of brought me to this particular line of business. Because I'm making a difference by even putting a smile on someone's face, or by lifting somebody up, or by celebrating somebody, their achievement, or whatever that or somebody is not well, I'm sort of sending that card of hope, or get well or whatever. That is lifting them up. So that is me, and that's how I got connected. So on the basis of making a difference and having the stage or the capacity to give out to the community and make this possible, or make this available to others who have got that feeling as well.
I think it's a really important journey to learn from, because so many people, they think, okay, I've become redundant, or I've left my corporate job. I don't want to work in the corporate system for the financial, or even just for well, you wouldn't do it for financial reasons, but just for family reasons. I want to spend more time with my family, or I might have a sick parent, whatever. Yeah. But you make that transition, and I think what is interesting about your journey is that you knew your strengths, and you just needed to find the right place. Yeah, exactly. to make that meaningful, because so many times as consultants or people who are making the transition from corporate to consultant, they move into an area that it's just the same as what they were doing before, but it doesn't really bring out the nature of who they are.
Exactly. And also another part to this particular system is that when I am using the system, that is personal development for me, because it comes from within me, and by appreciating or saying thank you and all that, and by sending these at the same time, I'm also growing my business, and that goes the same for the small business owners. As they are using this particular product, they are actually they're giving a strength within themselves. As well as growing their business in a very different way,
and that personal connection is
so
important.
Personal way, an emotional way, as well as having that connection and that branding for your business.
It's an important point that you mentioned there about branding. Probably you would want to make sure that you had all of that locked down, wouldn't you, before you start putting it into tangible print? Because I think that's what I found is when I was creating some printed collateral, I needed to make sure that I was 100% happy with my brand, my logo, my address, how I got a post office box. And your profile picture, of course, is so important when you're putting it on anything. Yes. It's almost like you do need to have those things solidified first.
Yes.
Because once you put things into print, apart from a business card, but once you've done that, it almost becomes more real and more tangible, and you know that it's out there. So you don't want something that's badly made or with a bad logo. So don't do one of those stupid logos through Fiverr.
Yeah.
I hate Fiverr. But I've seen so many people end up with these logos that they're stuck with for a few years. They hate them. I mean, they're absolutely meaningless just because they went, oh, somebody said I had to have a logo straight away. Well, yeah, you do. But just don't do a crappy one straight away. Like, give it some thought. It's your brand.
Brand, exactly. So it just goes to show that, like, you know, branding and also having the quality of that particular material that you're using, or the quality of the color or the print that you're using, is just as important as, like, you know, having the logo, the brand, or the profile picture and all that. That, like, you know, that actually represents you. That represents your business. And that sort of, you know, gives another type of connection with your clients. So, like, you know, having, like you said, those flimsy looking, you know, brandings, or, like, you know, cards that, like, you know, people are making, truly, like, you know, it's not really doing them much service.
No, it's really not. It's making them look cheap.
It does. It does. So definitely the branding side of it, yes, like, you know, you can brand it, you can change it, you can, like, you know, do it the way you want. You can have, like, you know, you're not stuck with just one particular brand. You can have various brandings, up to 10 brandings at one time. So that's like, you know, the beauty about, like, you know, today's technology, or today's, like, you know, system that, like, you know, is out there. And
my regular listeners will know that I'm very passionate about whether or not to be using overseas, outsourced, very cheap, you know, basically puppy factories out overseas with people doing that work for you, those contractors. But the fact is, if you have someone close by who is a wonderful graphic designer, someone who's helping you with your marketing and your promotion, someone who is on hand, you can call them. You can ask them questions about this sort of strategy. They're going to know the lay of the land here in Australia. They're going to know what people like here in Australia. They're not just going to be pushing out logos and pushing out collateral for you that is actually meaningless.
Exactly.
So I think Send Out Cards is a great example of the way we as Australian businesses connect with others. I think we do it really well, possibly not as well as the Americans. They're a bit frightening with their whole networking. But like you said, when you said put everybody in a room, I just imagined 100 Americans in a room shouting at each other. So there's a way that we can be subtle about it. And I think that this method of sending something physical, a brand reminder, all wrapped up in a nice connection, a personal branding is a great way to do it. We're just going to take a quick break here on Small Biz Matters, and we'll be back. You are listening to Triple H 100.1 FM. And welcome back to Small Biz Matters. You're listening to Triple H 100.1 FM. Sorry about that dead air, everyone. I'm not sure what happened there with my computer, but that's okay. We are back on the air with Triple H. Just talking a little bit with Maria about her wonderful business that she is working with, which is sending out brand reminders, but they're more than brand reminders, aren't they? They are a connection. They're a wonderful way of selling yourself. And just at the beginning of the show, we were talking about different ways of selling yourself and how it's a bit of a flooded market out there. How do you connect with your customers in different ways? I think that's what the connection. That's what we're really talking about today is, isn't it? Just connecting with them in different ways.
Like connecting with them in different ways and appreciating them, and, like, you know, building that relationship and creating that loyalty and customer base that will stick around with you for many, many years to come. Because when we have a loyal customer base, not only they're staying with us, they will actually refer other businesses to us, and which in an indirect way, we are actually, by appreciating one person, we have got this other group of people using our product or services because of that. Because we have appreciated one, and, like, you know, now it's just, you know, shows that, like, you know, they will bring other people. Where on the other hand, if we don't appreciate, or, like, you know, if they're not satisfied with our product and service and all that, and, like, you know, we don't show appreciation, and we are just treating them like a number,
a transaction.
They will just you know, keep moving.
That's right. They'll move on, and they won't think twice about the fact that they have, because they haven't got the connection with you in the first place. Takes you back to that original example you gave of the corner store. Why would you continue shopping there when There's no financial reason.
Exactly.
There's no product reason, because
Exactly.
ultimately they're selling the same pencils as
Exactly.
the other place.
Yes.
If anything, they're a little bit more inconvenient.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, I think that's where small business has it over the corporate world.
It has.
And you know what's really interesting? Looking back at the advertising world, for example, more and more larger corporate companies are saying, look, we want 2 of the big agencies to quote and pitch for that job, and we want 1 boutique agency, because we're sick of hearing the same old stuff.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
And so we bring to the table as small businesses not the same old stuff. We bring new ideas, fresh
Yes.
ways of looking at it,
Exactly.
individual, and it's about that individualism, that connection.
Exactly. It's about not mass numbers. So, it's about, connecting with each individual client and, appreciating them. I have another example. For example, a hairdresser salon that, we always go. There are so many of them. Or, dentists. There are so many of them. What makes them, better than the other? Because they provide the same service, or maybe they will be charging the same price and all that. So if we are going to the one that they are really connecting with us, and while we are getting our hair done, they're talking to us. They want to know how our day has been and what's really going on in our lives. People would appreciate that and feel that connection. And through that, if we are taking it, making it more personal, and by, for example, there are lots of things happening in our personal lives as well. For example, it's my birthday, and they are sending me a card. 3% of the mail that we are receiving these days is personal. The rest is all in window envelopes, bills that we have to keep on paying. Mm-hmm. So if I receive a personal birthday card from my hairdresser or from my, dentist, I would, go to them all the time. Not only, I'll go to them, I'll be taking my children, my husband, my family members and everybody else. And that's where, we are making, a difference or point of difference, setting ourselves apart. Like I said, mentioned earlier, we are at the peak of the competition. So our connection and our relationship needs to be different from all these other competitors or competition that is out there.
In a nice, quiet. Look, it's been absolutely wonderful having you on the show. Thank you so much for telling us about a very different way that we can connect with our clients as small businesses. So you've been listening today. Look forward to hearing from you all next week. We've got another great guest coming on the show telling us about their area of expertise, and we will speak to you all next week. You've been listening to Triple H 100.1 FM.